It's a very blessed sunny and yellow Sunday to all of you. This is Change Radio News Weekend Bulletin. Today is Sunday, the 6th of February 2022, and here is the news read by Sophia Tekwani. Here are the stories making the headlines. Citizens cannot afford to have a ZANU-PF in power until 2023, says Sikhala. The CCC warns party deployees in all council against corruption. And we are going to defend the vote by any means necessary, says Haruzivishe. And now for the stories in detail. The Citizens Coalition for Change National Vice Chairperson has urged citizens to resist ZANU-PF, saying they cannot afford to carry the baggage of a government that is looting Zimbabwe dry. Speaking on Twitter Spaces last night on the topic of the future of the yellow generation, Honorable Sikhala said the ZANU-PF government has failed and has caused untold suffering to every citizen due to the corruption and hollow policies. He added that the future of Zimbabwe is only safe under a visionary leader like the CCC president, Advocate Nelson Chamisa, who he said is ready to form the next government. The Citizens Coalition for Change, CCC, has warned party representatives in local government against corruption, saying the party is going to take action against anyone involved in corrupt activities. This was said by a top official of CCC, Mr. Lovemore Chinoputsa, whilst addressing a gathering yesterday at the by-election campaign launch of one of the party's candidates for the local government in Harare West. Let's hear what he said.
Tiri kuti isusu pakuti zvinhu zvedu zvese zvifambe, macitizens woye ivai pamberi pezvese zvatinoita semusangano. Madecisions ese emusangano tinobvunza kuti ko macitizens muri kuti chii? So macitizens ekuward 16 akataura akati tiri kuda kuti mwana watanga tinaye apedze basa ratakamutuma. And this was for a reason. Nekuti vari kuti mukomana uyu nyaya yeservice delivery ari kufamba nayo. Mukomana uyu nyaya yekuti vana vawane mabasa ari kufamba nayo. Mukomana uyu nyaya yekuendesa zvitemo zvedu kumberi ari kuzviita. So pari zvino ngaadzokere. Asi 2023 zviri kuda kuti iye pamwe chete navachamisa vaunze transformation munzvimbo yedu yemebhoreni. Ndochete zvakaita pasi. Toda kutendai nekuti tinoziva kuti 26 March mukomana muchamutungamidza kumberi. Mamutungamidza kumberi, utungamiriri hwachamisa huri kuti hakuna deployee yemusangano wedu inofanira kuita corruption mumakanzos. Utungamiriri hwachamisa huri kuti hakuna deployee yepati yedu anofamba akatsika madziro enzira. Tinoda vanhu vari straight. Saka ndo new beginning yatinayo, ndo new creature yatinayo, ndo saka taane kala itsva, kala yeyero, pati itsva, CCC. Mutungamiriri wedu mutsva, President Advocate Nelson Chamisa, tichienda kumberi. Chamisa oye!
Honorable Lovemore Chinoputsa there. Pro-democracy activist and CCC Youth Assembly National Executive Committee member Makomborero Haruzivishe, who spent more than 10 months in prison last year, has warned ZANU-PF against vote rigging in the 2023 harmonized elections. Speaking at a public gathering to launch the by-election campaign for Harare's youth candidates, Haruzivishe said they are not going to let ZANU-PF tamper with the people's vote. Here's what he said.
Passing by on our way to 2023 to State House, making sure that the chapter is going to give up. So my by-elections, we are just passing by, and that's what they say. Let's go and pass by-election to make sure that that's all up here. On our way to 2023, on our way to and to make sure President Jamsa by any business, victory, Wakawina Dara, President Jamsa. Wakawina Dara. I think was a job to secure victory. President Jamsa, Wakawina Dara, I said to secure victory. Yanya says, let's secure say, can you say voter, don't let it say, can yourself voter, but no, that's my election. So voter. No second step, third step, work project, and this time around. We are not going to let the devil run away with the Bible in front of the open. Zimbabwe.
Citizens Coalition for Change candidate for local government in the Harare West Ward 16, Dedford Gadziwore, yesterday gave a stern warning to ZANU PF against the removal of his campaign posters. Addressing a gathering at Malbarain Shopping Center, Gadziwore warned that he will take a political solution instead of a police report on anyone found removing his campaign posters. Let's hear him speak.
Like I said, no one was. Indeed, I am the first candidate. I am the first and the last candidate. My solution is political. Indeed, I am the first and the last candidate. I will never be a victim. I know Mtemo. So, I met the other candidate was ZANU-PF, Ngoma Joshua. He's a young man. There's a man named campaign in the Suru. Nikamuta. And Rakumuta is a complaint. Namun as here. And the message Nakatwa in the Suru is the last message. From now, going forward, Arawa campaign team Avara Potaram, and if anyone, and the other police, and the other safe, and if any candidate. I am saying this. Chinu each, Chinu citizen. Chinu each, Chinu citizen. My citizens, we are more powerful than any other institution. My citizens, we are more organized than ZANU-PF. My citizens, we are more organized than any other creator in Zimbabwe. In the present, go and tell each other. Panama recorder, please don't edit anything. Panama recorder, don't edit anything. Please. Go and tell ZANU to leave my poster.
The nurses coalescing under the Zimbabwe Professional Nurses Union, ZPNU, have blasted Constantino Chiwenga for the militarization of the health sector. In a statement, ZPNU President Robert Chiluku said the heavy presence of military personnel in the health ministry has reduced the sector to a subsect of the defense forces. Chiluku said Chiwenga has since issued a directive to the Nurses Council of Zimbabwe against issuing the nurses verification letter, which is a document necessary for nurses seeking employment outside of the country. As the voter registration blitz is currently underway, youths have been encouraged to play their part by registering to vote in their numbers. This was emphasized by political analyst and the University of Kent law lecturer, Dr. Alex Magaisa, in his Big Saturday Read blog released yesterday. Magaisa said the youths have no option but to register to vote, pointing out that those who do not participate in the electoral process are in a way passively endorsing the status quo. Beatrice Mutetwa, who is representing Mary Mubaiwa in a dragging court case where the latter is accused of the attempted murder of her former husband, Constantino Chiwenga, yesterday dared the magistrate to go on and sentence Mubaiwa, accusing the judiciary of acting on Chiwenga's instructions on the case. Mutetwa yesterday stormed out of the court, visibly angry at the manner in which the state is handling her client's case. She said it is becoming clear that the state seems to have already made a decision to send Mubaiwa to jail, even without evidence that she committed the crime. Commuters in Harare yesterday were left stranded as the government-owned bus company ZUBKO failed to deliver its services. A visit by Change Radio News in and around bus termini in Harare and Chitungwiza reveals that many commuters had difficulties accessing transport and hordes of people were left stranded as rain poured in the evening. The failure by ZUBKO to provide adequate transport to commuters is squarely blamed on mismanagement and corruption by Emmerson Mnangagwa's government. The Zimbabwe Peace Project has called for political tolerance as the country heads towards the March 26 by-elections. In its January monthly report, the organization has urged the ZANU-PF government to demarcate between party business and government business. The human rights watchdog organization also raised concerns over the partisan distribution of food, interference of traditional leaders in politics, and the suppression of citizens' rights by the state. In international news, the Moroccan boy who was trapped in a 32-meter deep well for days as rescue workers labored around the clock with mechanical diggers to save him has passed on. Workers retrieved the body of the young boy who was trapped for 5 days in a well in northern Morocco, a devastating end to a painstaking operation that gripped the nation. The Royal Palace said in a statement carried by state media on Saturday that the boy had died just before rescuers could save him. Sharjeel Imam, an Indian activist, has been languishing in jail for over 2 years now for a speech that rights activists say he is being punished for opposing a controversial citizenship law pushed by the ruling BJP party. The Indian journalist was thrown in jail and charged for sedition and several other charges under the anti-terror law for making speeches during the mass protest against the controversial citizenship law after pioneering the SHAHEEN BHAG protest, a 100-day-long peaceful sit-in in the capital organized in response to the passage of the Citizenship Amendment Act, CAA, by the Indian Parliament in December 2019. In the COVID-19 news and updates, yesterday, Zimbabwe's health ministry recorded 67 new cases of COVID-19 and 2 deaths from the virus-related complications. We at Change Radio continue to urge citizens to take precautions against contracting the virus. This includes washing and sanitizing of hands, wearing face masks, and practicing social distancing, as well as getting vaccinated. In sports news, the suspended FIFA board has formally applied to FIFA for sanctions on local football following the continued interference of the Sports and Recreation Commission in the running of the game in the country. The SRC, a government organization, was given until 3 January to lift the sanctions against the Felton Kamambo-led executive by the World Football Body, but failed to heed the instructions until now. The suspension barred Kamambo from traveling to Cameroon for the AFCON finals. In the AFCON news, Cameroon came from behind to win the Total Energies AFCON bronze medal after they beat Burkina Faso 5-3 after penalties. The finals will be played today and will see Senegal pitted against Egypt at 2000 hours Central African Time. Zimbabwean Michael Ndiweni has been training with the Newcastle United's first team after catching the eye of coach Eddie Howe. The 18-year-old was called up after the club lost a number of options in the attack and failed to cover up signings in the January transfer window. According to English outlet The Chronicle Live, Howe and his staff were present at a recent Newcastle United under-23 match to watch the 18-year-old striker in action. This is not the first time the Zimbabwean has trained with the first team after being called in November by former boss Steve Bruce. The youngster was selected in the Next Generation 2020 20 of the best talents at Premier League clubs. We wish the young player all the very best. To end the bulletin, here are the headlines once again. Citizens cannot afford to have ZANU-PF in power until 2023, says Sikhala. CCC warns party deployees in council against corruption. We are going to defend the vote by any means necessary, says Haruzivishe. And that concludes this edition of our weekend bulletin. From myself, Sophia, and those behind the scenes, thank you for joining us and have an absolutely blessed yellow week ahead.